Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to uh, do a little video on some of the symbolism of the Kendrick Lamar performance from Super Bowl 59. Yeah, it was a great performance. It was heavily loaded with a lot of symbolism, a lot of cryptic messaging, and it went over a lot of people's heads. You know, there were mixed reactions when it came to it because people claim, at least what's going on, they claim that they didn't understand it, that they didn't uh, understand the meanings of it. So I'm here to break some of it down. They claim they didn't understand his rapping, which is crazy because there are literally closed captions on every performance. But as far as the symbolism, everything in this performance was loaded with symbolism. Basically, everything. Let's start with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson comes out dressed as Uncle Sam. Basically, the symbol of America has been the symbol of America since the American Revolution. Uh, he was a meat packer in the colonial era. But anyway, it's been a symbol of whiteness, basically. And he comes out and he says, just play the game. Kendrick, you're being too ghetto. Basically symbolizing the conservative white audience reaction to having a rapper, the likes of Kendrick Lamar, on the stage. Now, why Samuel L. Jackson? Because many people know he played the part in the movie Django Unchained as Stephen, the sellout house slave slash villain in the movie. So they basically, in a way, reprising his role dressed in the Uncle Sam garb. Then you had uh yeah. Then you had the dancers, the choreography dressed in red, white, and blue, the colors of the American flag. And they formed like a pyramid around Kendrick as they were dancing. And this was to symbolize the fact that foundational Black Americans, uh, Black people in America, African Americans, whatever phrase you want to use, built the United States of America from the foundation. Because before African Americans, Black Americans, FBA have been here since 1619, before there even was a country. Some foundational Black Americans trace their lineage back even further, having Native American ancestry. Many Black Americans have Native American ancestry that were here even before any European explorers were here. So, unlike any of these immigrant groups that conservatives target, Black Americans cannot be deported. They cannot deport Black Americans anywhere, even though they would like to. They can't because they're a part of the foundation of America and they helped build the United States. Then you had Kendrick's attire, his particularly his leather coat. On his coat, you had written PG Lang, which is the company that he and Dave Free are a part of, right? And then you had Compton, and then you had lyrics written the lyrics for Not Like Us written on his jacket. So for those people who didn't understand the lyrics, they could have just read Kendrick's jacket and they would have been able to understand the lyrics to the song. On his chain, he had the chain, his chain, a little A. This was to symbolize A minor, which is the signature part of the song that everybody knew, basically to get at Drake. And then you had the motions that he was doing, particularly when he looked at the camera and smiled in the part of the song where he says, "Hey Drake, I hear you like I'm young," and then he looks at the camera, looking at Drake, smiling. So every little piece of the performance had a little bit of messaging behind it. Even when he said, "I know they don't want me to sing this, but they can't stop you when you have a lot of influence." Because Drake sued him for Not Like Us, for the lawsuit. And he was told not to sing this song, but he sang it anyway. And then bringing out Serena Williams to do the Crip Walk. Now, this was loaded with tremendous amount of symbolism as well, because years ago, Serena Williams was in the Olympics at a tennis tournament, and she did the Crip Walk there. And news media called it ghetto. News media derided it as a celebration of gang culture. And, she was dragged through the mud for it. So this time she came out and she did the Crip Walk again as a celebration of Compton, her neighborhood, basically, which was also written on Kendrick's jacket. Also, it's Kendrick's neighborhood. Also, she was significant too because she is Drake's ex-girlfriend. Her and Drake had a long publicized relationship 2 years back. Also, SZA coming out. SZA was out there because she has two songs with Kendrick, and most notably Luther, and she has another song from the Black Panther soundtrack. But also, she was in a relationship with Drake before. She is also Drake's ex. So basically, Kendrick had two women out there that were Drake's exes performing with him, basically shoving it in Drake's face. Despite the fact that Drake, during the beef, alluded to Kendrick's wife, Whitney Alford, in the Family Matters beef, sleeping with Dave Free. Drake said that Kendrick's wife slept with Dave Free. So you want to bring up my girl in yes. This is correct as well. His two-step was a movement that is done in the Black church, and when they had him go all around in a circle in the performance, that's what's called a ring shout, which is something that is done in Black Christian services. That has been done in Black Christian services since slavery. Also, during the set, when they bring out the whole set was a prison yard. That is to symbolize, of course, for those people that are incarcerated, many that are incarcerated, falsely accused, victims of racism. So basically, it was like a Broadway play, guys. Every little bit was telling a story. Every little bit was some sort of symbolism. It was the struggle. It was basically the Black American struggle encapsulated in his performance. And Not Like Us is much more deeper than a diss song. There are plenty of diss songs out there, And there are plenty of uh, rap records that are diss records. Obviously, back to back. Drake has one of the greatest ones. No Vaseline, hit him up. But this was that song is much more than that. The song is to symbolize the black struggle. It's to symbolize the uniqueness of Black American culture that is not like any other culture in the world, and that is foundational to the story of America, because they wanted to paint this Super Bowl as America's comeback. They wanted to paint it as a return from what they perceive as woke culture. This is why Trump was there, you know, and they wanted it to be the super white Super Bowl. But the fact that Kendrick was so popular and he couldn't be denied, and he was such a juggernaut in the year of 2024, that they had to put him up there, right? And the fact that they couldn't try to make Trump and other white artists the star of it because he was so big he couldn't be denied. And the fact that it was in the blackest city in America, in a city that gave birth to the first genre of Black American music in history, jazz, right? And gave birth to Fats Domino, and gave birth to many of the elements of rock and roll, and was basically one of the sites in Congo Square of the earliest slave revolts in American history. And also, in recent history, New Orleans was hit hard, not just in New Year's of 2025, obviously with the terrorist attack, but go back further than that. 20 years before that, in Hurricane Katrina, where many of the residents were hit so hard and had been suffering for years and still haven't really gotten over the trauma that hit them and the government's reaction to that, all those years ago. And it was a celebration on Black History Month by an artist that is conscious and right in front of one of the most racist and xenophobic presidents of all time, with a black quarterback winning the Super Bowl, with a team, the Eagles, that not only is the eagle bird symbolic of America as America's national bird, but also a team, Philadelphia, that has history is deep in America's history, the first capital of the United States, and also a city that was also hit hard with a plane crash in the beginning of 2025. So all of it was very symbolic. All of it was a celebration of America, a celebration of Black America in particular, because they always want to, especially the Trump administration, they always want to write Black people out of the story. And it was basically, in my opinion, an affirmation saying the Black American struggle, whether it be from slavery, whether it be from segregation, whether it be symbols of the Black church, like Lisa's talking about, the dances, whether it be street culture, what street culture comes out of the oppression and suppression of Black culture. It was all there. It was all there on full display. Each act was symbolic. I mean, think about it. Kendrick in the song "Not Like Us" talks about the slave auctions in Atlanta. When he talks about Drake going to Atlanta to try to prove his street credibility, he talks about the slave auctions in Atlanta and how important Atlanta was in the antebellum and post-antebellum world in Black American history. Kendrick Lamar is unlike any other, uh, well, not like any, unlike any other rapper, but he is different than other rappers, of this generation. Yeah. So about the pre-performance, I'll be honest, I didn't see really the marching band performance. I saw a little bit of it. You know what I mean? But of course, marching bands are a huge part of New Orleans culture. The foundations of jazz come from the marching bands and the college culture, HBCU college culture in New Orleans. Okay, I'm looking at it now. Okay, yeah, it was a very jazzy performance, and John Baptiste rendition of the national anthem, but was also a very beautiful rendition of the national anthem too. Uh, but yeah, I like uh, that New Orleans flavor to the national anthem. Oh yeah, and there was a performance of the Black national anthem by uh, artist R&B artist Lindisi, which the Black national anthem is written in 1919 by James Weldon Johnson. Um, it's called "Lift Every Voice and Sing," and it was just to me overall the Super Bowl was very satisfying, a very big celebration of Black culture. Like I said, Black American culture, and to me, like it was the first time ever musically that you saw a black artist and black artists in general celebrating being American because they always want to tell us racists and the right wing racists always want to tell us that, oh, these symbols of America, like the eagle, the American flag, the national anthem, and American history, is not for people of color, that it's only for white folks. And how can that be when people of color are the foundation to the United States? Uh, most most Black Americans' families have been here since before there was a country, since before many white American families have been here, but yet they were excluded because of racism and segregation. They were prevented from celebrating the American side of their culture. But not this time. You had a black Uncle Sam. You had a black uh, artist up there, talking about expressing patriot idealism, expressing love for his people and love for his country. You had John Baptiste, like I said, singing the national anthem. You had the jazz performances in the beginning and the end. Just a really feel good moment. And it was right in front of Trump. And I'm sure, as we saw the reaction the day after, Trump and all his supporters, they didn't like it. They wanna be able to, like, they would want, like, a rap artist coming out there and disrespecting the American flag, disrespecting the symbols of Americana, so they can make themselves seem like uber patriots, and they can make themselves seem like they're the good guys. Like, look at these degenerate rap artists disrespecting America, spitting on the American flag, or denigrating the American flag. But that wasn't what Kendrick did. Kendrick took it in another direction, and Kendrick basically made "Not Like Us" an anthem for the new version of patriotism. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, do I think it was right the NFL to choose Kendrick or? Well, yes, Kendrick Lamar was better for it. Lil Wayne is would have been exactly like I said that the other performances were. Basically, it would have been. Uh, or do I think Lil Wayne would have been better considering their political climate? Lil Wayne would have been exactly like I always say the other Super Bowl performances were and are. Somebody who's past his prime, past his level of relevancy. I mean, Lil Wayne hasn't been good since the 2010s. This was this was current. This was relevant. This was an anthem. I mean, the whole stadium stood up and sang A minor. You know what I mean? That tells you all you need to know when it comes to who the people wanted. People saying they don't understand it is basically code for I didn't like it because it was rap. I didn't like it because I felt it was too black. Yeah, people were saying that since the very beginning, though. People were saying Lisa says because people say he should have been the performer because it was his state. It was in his state. Yeah, but so what? You know what I mean? Like, uh, was the Super Bowl that Michael Jackson performed, was that in Indiana? Was the Super Bowl that Lady Gaga performed, was that in New York? Was the Super Bowl that Prince performed, was that in Minnesota? Was the Super Bowl that Katy Perry performed, was that in California? Excuse me. What difference does that make? So what? That's his state. He's not relevant. He hasn't been on the charts. And people are saying the three people that this performance pissed off, besides all the other white races, was Trump, Drake, and Kanye West. Kanye West wanted Kendrick Lamar to go out there and say "Free Diddy" in his performance, and obviously Kendrick was not going to do that because this song, besides being a patriotic song, besides being a song to celebrate blackness and black contributions to American history, is also a repudiation of pedophilia. I mean, the entire song, besides the historical parts, is talking about Drake being a child predator. Why would Kendrick go on stage and ask the people to support and to free another child predator? Like, Kanye has to be one of the dumbest people around. And of course, this pissed off Drake because the song's about him and because of Cesar and because of Serena Williams. And it pissed off Trump because Trump, of course, being the egomaniac that he is, wanted to make his attendance there the most historic moment in the Super Bowl, being the first sitting president to ever attend a Super Bowl. So no, I think that Drake would have been there if Lil Wayne was there because Drake is associated with Lil Wayne and people just don't want to see Drake anymore. People are sick of him and sick of Lil Wayne and sick of that whole group of people. He says Kai Cenat said that people in the stands weren't loud, which of course is a lie. So people are saying that people weren't really that loud. I mean, they were loud when it came to A minor, but when are they ever really that loud? Like they made more noise for him than they made for Rihanna or made for Usher or made for any of these other artists. I feel like people in the Super Bowl, people that pay money, these big bucks to attend Super Bowl games, maybe they didn't know who Kendrick is, but just because they didn't know before doesn't mean they won't know now. I think Kai Cenat is off. I mean, what did he really expect? You know what I mean? Did he expect riots like when he was, when he had his riot in Central Park a couple of years ago? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this is the Super Bowl. These are rich millionaires and billionaires. They're not going to make a bunch of noise like that. They never really do. But I think Kendrick had the best Super Bowl performance ever. He did more views than Michael Jackson. The 93 performance, which of course was the one that changed the game for Super Bowl performances. So, you know, this has to be the most embarrassing thing in history when it comes to, if you're Drake, this has to be the most embarrassing thing ever because how do you come back from this? Not only was the entire 2024 dedicated to shitting on you, he had two of your exes up there, embarrassing you. He had the entire stadium chanting in unison that uh, are attracted to underage girls. Like R. Kelly didn't even have it this bad. Diddy didn't even have it this bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody in hip hop that has been this embarrassed ever that I can remember. Yeah, at least as me being a Drake fan. But I'm admitting, we lost. You know what I mean? Like, our side lost. There's nothing Drake cannot come back from this, I don't think. You know what I mean? Like, the last time we saw a murder like this in a rap game of somebody's career, it was when Ja Rule lost to 50 in the early 2000s. And as we know, Ja Rule has never returned back to prominence. People are the new generation is rediscovering his music now because Irv Gotti just passed away. And Irv Gotti was behind a lot of the production of Ja Rule. But before that, before Irv Gotti's demise, Ja Rule was completely done for. But even take the most disgraced acts in all of hip hop. Let's list them. Okay, the first one I say probably Vanilla Ice. He was embarrassed and he was revealed to be a phony back in the early '90s, and he was disgraced. And people look at Ice Ice Baby as a disgrace for a song, and his career as a disgrace. Then after that, you got MC Hammer, his bankruptcy. People look at him as a joke. Then after that, you have Cannabis. He went up against LL. He lost the battle against LL in 1998. He lost and he got disgraced. Then in the early 2000s, you had the battle between Ja Rule and 50. Ja lost and he got disgraced. Now you have this. I mean, two. Ice Spice is another one. She had the battle with Lotto because of the whole Kendrick and David says he didn't watch the game. I mean the halftime show because of the beef between Kendrick and Drake. People ignored the Lotto and Ice Spice beef, which also resulted in Ice Spice being exposed and Ice Spice being shamed, and nobody remembers her. People talk about they booed Taylor Swift at the stadium, at the Super Bowl, and possibly it was just Taylor, but don't forget who was sitting next to her buddy Ice Spice. So maybe Ice Spice was getting some of the booze as well. You know. Yeah, people say that 50 walks so Kendrick can run. West Coast rappers have the best disses. They've always had the best. Uh, he says no, it was Taylor because people are tired of seeing her. Yeah, I know, I'm joking. But Ice Spice too. She does herself no favors hanging out with Taylor. Maybe her and Taylor Swift being girlfriends, and her basically being Taylor's right hand woman uh, was one of the things that caused her to fall off. Like being so like attached at the hip with each other. You're attached at the hip with somebody and you're besties with somebody that nobody likes, will rub off on you and people won't like you either. You don't believe me? Ask Elon Musk or ask. That's one of the reasons too. Lil Wayne might have got booed off this. If Lil Wayne's home city, but he might have got booed off the stage because he's so closely aligned with Drake. So you know, she obviously. I'm not saying she's not friends with Taylor in real life, but I think she became close with Taylor and latched herself onto Taylor because she believed that despite the momentum that she was having, in the hip hop world, that she was going to have more momentum by being best friends with Taylor Swift, going places with Taylor Swift, being seen with Taylor Swift everywhere. That was going to make her even an even bigger star, but it backfired because uh, you know, Taylor Swift is no longer popular. So, and Taylor was a part of the beef too. Don't forget, Taylor Swift was part of the beef because Kendrick and Taylor had a song years ago, "Bad Blood," where Kendrick Lamar was on a song with Taylor Swift, and then Drake tried to use that because Drake and Taylor Swift, all throughout the 2010s, Drake and Taylor Swift were like competitors. Drake was like MJ, and Taylor Swift was like Prince, or they were like 1A, 1B on the charts together, on the pop charts. So Drake has a kind of animosity towards Taylor Swift. So he tried to use that to denigrate Kendrick, saying that Kendrick was, always performing for the white people. He appeals to the mainstream audience, and he's a pop artist basically. And he tried to success shame Kendrick, and then he put out that remix, which Tupac's estate sued him for, the tailor-made remix featuring AI versions of Tupac and Snoop on tailor-made. Lisa says people have said that Lil Wayne said that he likes Trump. So that, well, Trump did pardon Lil Wayne, so I mean there is that. He pardoned him last go around. Lisa says she heard that Kendrick's next album that she's gonna be on. She might. I mean, her time is up too. I mean, we're well into the fifth year of the decade, and usually by the time we arrive to the fifth year of any decade, what was popular the decade prior no longer becomes popular. That's usually the trend. That's always been the trend in music. That was the trend. By the time we got to 85, the mood changed. It was no longer the disco era, no longer the 70s. We were well into the rock era, the early rap era. Was over with. The kind of Grandmaster Flash Furious 5 style rock and rap was no longer popular, and Run DMC came out with their first album in 85. By 95, Michael Jackson released History in 95, which was his double album, and that did well. But by 95, we were past him. We were past Madonna. We were past the artist of the 80s. By 95, we moved on to gangster rap and grunge music. By the year 2005, we were past what was popular in the 90s, past nu metal and past, that sort of stuff, past the hardcore rap. We were moving on to a different style, the style that would define the 2010s. Eminem was corny by 2005. He fell off by like 04. People by the fifth year of the decade, the icons and the styles and the sounds that defined the previous decade are no longer popular, and we're following that trend now. We're in 2025, the fifth year of the 2020s. People are tired of the Drakes and the Taylor Swifts and the those two people who dominated the 2010s. Those two were big names in the 2010s, and people are sick of them by now. People's tastes change. Nobody lasts forever. Nobody stays on top forever. Even the Michael Jacksons, the Princes, the Elvis Presleys, the Beatles, they all faded into obscurity by the fifth year of each decade. The Beatles had to change. Look at the Beatles. They had to change their sound. By the late 60s, became more psychedelic in order to keep up with the trends. This always happens. So unless Drake or Taylor Swift can change their sound to adapt to what people are on right now, I don't see their careers being as popular as they were in the previous decade. That's just life. But they'll become popular again by the 2040s. By the time Gen Z is old enough to be nostalgic about their music in the way that millennials are nostalgic about our music now, the Drakes and the Taylor Swifts and the Post Malones and the Takashis, all these artists that have either changed up their sound completely in the case of Post Malone, or completely shamed and booed out of obscurity like the Takashis and the Drakes and the Taylor Swifts. They'll remember them the way we remember some of our artists that weren't, that were shamed during our era. Well, yes, Lisa is bringing up that people are saying that the number of artists they have at the Super Bowl is slowly getting to be less and less. Yes, because unfortunately, with the uh, with the change in style of music, we saw it this year especially. Hip hop is no longer the number one genre of music in America. This year, especially 2024, country music is for the first time ever in American history, the number one genre of music. Either country or country inspired. Shabuzi, which is a country song, the bar song, was on the charts. Well, I don't know, David. I enjoyed it. I loved it, actually. I thought it was good. So I don't know about everybody. David says everybody hates it. They said it sucks. To me, it was great. To me, it was historic, and I loved it. So, we all have different opinions. But country music is the number one genre of music right now. It has been for weeks and weeks. We saw Teddy Swims Lose Control was on the charts for a number of weeks. Shabuzi, the bar song, on the charts for a number of weeks. Even Lady Gaga, To Die with a Smile, her and Bruno Mars. You know, they were popular in previous decades, but Lady Gaga in the late 2000s and Bruno Mars, especially in the 2010s, he was like the third or fourth person, maybe behind The Weeknd. That was, Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, and him. Drake, Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, and Bruno Mars in the 2010s. And he and Lady Gaga has both changed their style. That song is really country inspired too. So country music is kind of having, and Post Malone featuring featuring Morgan Wallen. I had some help. Also, Post Malone was on the Bud Light commercial, the Super Bowl with Shane Gillis. So he's kind of switched from hip hop to now he's doing country. You know what I mean? So uh, Lisa says that's what they want. They want country music, and I say let them have country music in the Super Bowl. But the country music now isn't what it was in the '90s. It's more R&B, hip hop ish. Yeah. Um, a big change in country music happened when Florida Georgia Line and Baby Risha came out with It Was Meant to Be, where they added hip hop beats, and that was like 2018, 19 ish. And then of course, love him or hate him. I mean, he was kind of a one hit wonder, flash in the pan type country artist, and they hated him at the time when he came out. But Little Nas X kind of brought that hip hop flavor to country music, so that was part of the country renaissance as well. And of course, this year, love her or hate her, I know Lisa doesn't like her, and I'm not sure how David feels about it. But uh, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter, uh, the release of that album, which is a country rap fusion. Well, Nelly was ahead of the curve back in the day when he came out with that song with Tim McGraw. Then they're gonna get a Dolly Parton type country show if that's what they want. Yeah, I don't. No, that's not happening. I say Shabuzi would have been. I mean, I like Kendrick. I think Kendrick. I disagree with David. I think Kendrick's show was good. I enjoyed it. Um, he had the biggest song of the year. He won more Grammys than any other rap artist ever. He made history. You know what I mean? So they they needed to do it, but if he didn't exist, if he didn't have, it would have been Shabuzi. Shabuzi had such momentum at the top of the charts. I go to a music school, so we talk about music a lot. We focus on a lot of the music that's out there. Back when I was, tutoring, working with kids, I knew some of the songs, but now that I'm in SAE, I know a lot more songs than I did even back then. Of the newer artists that's out there. So, and I know that Shabuzi, they were playing that bar song everywhere I went. If it wasn't that, it was Teddy Swims Lose Control. I was hearing that everywhere. So, other than Not Like Us. Chris Brown. Uh, well, Chris Brown would be nice. I mean, he never gets his flowers. The man has never gotten his flowers ever. And I think it's because of what he done. What he did all those years ago, back in 2009 with Rihanna. I think if that never happened, he would have been acknowledged for what he done in R&B. So putting him at the Super Bowl next year would be nice, but I just think that with a lot of the backlash they got, you see it right here on this thread, David saying that he sucked, and a lot of people saying it sucked. Okay, they're going to try to go in a different direction, but I don't think so, though, because Jay-Z is going to still be in charge of it. And Jay-Z will push for a lot more hip-hop and R&B acts to be featured there still, unfortunately. I mean, not unfortunately, fortunately, rather. You know, but as long as it's not Kanye West, I'm good with it because I don't really need to see Bianca Sensori on the Super Bowl having yet another wardrobe malfunction. You know, we need to keep Bianca Sensori's nakedness away from our TV screen. I'm tired of seeing that girl uh, stripped down every time I open Instagram. At least they're gonna divorce, and then Chris Brown won a Grammy. Yeah, he did, but based on his record sales and his his stage performance, had he not fucked up the way he did his image, he could have been where Drake was. He could have been this generation's Michael Jackson. He's twice the singer that Drake is. He's twice the performer that Drake is, but he didn't get his flowers because he didn't, because he fucked up, which is unfortunate. Uh, and that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you, Lisa, for contributing. Thank you, David, for contributing. I disagree with you, David, on the performance, but it's okay, man. We could agree to disagree. I feel like it was a great performance. It was historic. I'm not really a Kendrick Lamar fan. Wasn't really a Kendrick Lamar fan, really at all. More of a Drake fan, but even as a Drake fan, I gotta admit he did his thing, man. And we'll see where the Super Bowl ends next year. And I think Lil Wayne's WrestleMania performance, Lil Wayne's performance at WrestleMania 40, that was a horrible performance. Kind of soured people on him as a live performer. Like if he couldn't do something on a small level, WrestleMania, which is the junior Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like you have these two mega sports events, the Super Bowl and WrestleMania. Super Bowl is the bigger one, the older one, the one that's on regular TV, so everybody. Yeah, that was 2024. The one that's on regular TV, so everybody watches it. It's the junior, it's the mega, it's the daddy performance, and the Super Bowl and the WrestleMania is like the junior Super Bowl, because the cities that WrestleMania does, like they'll do a city, and the Super Bowl will do the next WrestleMania will do the city after the Super Bowl does that same city. It's the junior Super Bowl, so it's kind of getting people ready for like the Super Bowl. And he did WrestleMania 40, and his performance was horrible there. But wrestling is different because you don't have a halftime in wrestling, and there's no real break in intermission. And when there is one, people get pissed. People don't like to see musical performances at wrestling shows because there's no break or intermission. There is no halftime. So how can you have a halftime show? You know what I mean? People are like, I just want to see another match, or I want to see more of that match that was going on. Like the performers could have had more minutes. You make time for this bullshit. You know what I mean? Every time they do it, whether it's WrestleMania 25 with Kid Rock, whether it's WrestleMania 33 with Pitbull, or whether it was last year with Lil Wayne, it always sucks. And fans hate it no matter what the music genre is because it's wrestling and we don't pay to see music. So they try to be like the Super Bowl, but they can't because they're not on paid television and they don't have a hat. There's no halftime in wrestling. So, maybe it was due to that, but all other live performances that I've seen of Lil Wayne haven't been good either. So I don't think Lil Wayne was fit for that. He's not a good live performer. So that's all. Anyway, guys, see you. Peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and I'm doing these shorts now. You know what I mean? So thank you for the love I got in the last Super Bowl review short. Peace. Appreciate it on the Linda McMahon short. Love you guys.